everyone. Welcome to the latest episode of MSP Business School. And we're coming to you today recording on St. Paddy's Day. So for those of you that are Irish out there, hope you're having a lovely St. Patrick's Day. Find yourself a nice green beer and a spot to sit tonight as we all, hunker down for the last few weeks of hopefully this pandemic thing. With me, as always, I've got Rob Rogers and Tim McNeil from OSR. How you guys doing today?
Doing well, sir.
Yeah, doing well. How's the day going?
There are no complaints. No complaints, man. Never can complain on St. Paddy's Day. And with us today, we've got Jamie D'Agostino, a longtime friend of mine and the CEO over at Netology in Stamford. And, Jamie and I kind of started at the same time, and he's kept going. I've gone on and done a lot of wild things while he's kept marching to the drum that he's been doing. So I'm excited to have him finally come on the podcast today. What's going on, Jamie? How are you?
Thanks, Brian. Yeah, no, I'm doing well today. Hello everyone. Long time, Brian. I guess, I think you started a little bit before I did, but definitely.
I think it's semantics at this point. It was probably less than a year, so many years ago. It doesn't even matter now. So Jamie, tell us a little bit about Netology, what you guys focus on. We understand that there's a lot of things that MSPs do in common, but there are things that separate us also. Tell us a little bit about the Netology story.
Well, sure. I mean, we've been a pure play MSP along those lines. So we've kind of been at it with the model for a long time. Back then, it was kind of a little bit more exotic than it is today. Trying to explain to customers or clients, or prospects, I should say, why they should go for a fixed cost type model. And it took a while to get the light bulb on. Now it's a little bit different. Now you need differentiation from the rest of the field. And what makes us special, what makes us different. Nowadays it's, hey, we're not a huge company and we've been around 18 years, that's a differentiator right there.
Yeah.
We're a smaller MSP. We have 18 people. We, service accounts that are in the, 10 to 100 seat range. So, again, there are still a few of us out here, but I think with all the acquisitions and mergers going on, there is a little bit of a vacuum in the space for MSPs our size is what we're finding, which is a great thing. But yeah, what sets us different, I could also say some other things which my staff hates me for on a daily basis. We have a 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. service desk, which is pretty much the bane of the existence of some of the folks at on my team. We also, have some hyper aggressive SLAs, that they hate us for as well. Sometimes we struggle to meet, they're so aggressive, but again, it's all a learning experience. We've been working with C-level figuring ways out to kind of get a little bit more aligned with what best practices are across the board. So
I want to hit on a couple of things that you said there for a couple of minutes, Jamie. First thing is, I think you're spot on in your assessment of how it's been prospecting since the old days, right? When we got into this, the biggest challenge was educating the customer what is an MSP. Now we've got really savvy clients that understand what's going on, are more in tune with technology, and it makes selling a lot different than it once was, does it not?
It certainly does, because, in the past, it felt like more conversations were around convincing people that, that this is the model, that, staying, technology life cycles and staying on top of things and being proactive was the secret sauce. Now, everybody has that message that they tell. So really more, it's about execution, how consistent and mature are you with delivering those strategic services? How good and mature is your service desk model and support delivery, which kind of differentiates you. And, and again, one of the other things I've noticed too is it's all about security at the end of the day. Well, in the marketplace right now, I should say.
Yeah.
For the longest time, there's other folks that, you'd want to, on a business development side, that you'd want to partner with and share leads with, et cetera. And I've always found that, and I'm sorry if I sound snooty, but it always felt like a one-way street when we were working with, phone vendors or copy vendors and so forth. It was always like we could bring them into accounts, and we're totally fine and happy if they do a good job for our clients or accounts, but they were never able to really bring us in at the right level, or get the right conversations with prospects. And just recently, we have our own security offerings internally, but we've partnered up with a security firm, and we've been getting referrals like left and right with yeah, we're evaluating MSPs, you guys are the right size, let's have a conversation. And that's really been, how do I say, I feel like we're being brought in at the right level finally. Somebody that could be almost considered higher than us on the food chain, of vendors. So I've never actually had that before.
That's an interesting take too,
Yeah,
because
it's something that we've resisted for a long time, because it's with all the conglomeration happening with different, even if you're dealing with telecom brokers or something like that, the next thing you know, that they're getting acquired, and oh, by the way, they have an MSP under their roof. Yep. Or or if you're working with this security firm, but they're also an MSP. But don't worry, they're never gonna do anything on the MSP side. That's just what they'll tell you.
Well, that was the big thing I was wondering about, because you see so many MSPs that are trying to become MSSPs, right? But at the end of the day, they're really not doing much more than adding security services into the stack of operational tools that they're really giving to the customer. They're not providing any governance. They certainly don't have expertise in incident response or forensics. So I got to assume, in some respects, partnering with a group that's really good at that piece of the puzzle not only benefits you, and great that leads are coming back, but it also gives a little separation on the risk too, right? Because you're really talking about, now you own the risk that you're comfortable owning. They own the risk at the area where they have the expertise, and you guys have each other's back. That's got to be a win-win all around.
Yeah, it is. I mean, we met these guys through a couple of our financial accounts where we ended up working with them, and we ended up working well with them, and one thing kind of led to another, and the relationship kicked off pretty well. So I never thought I would start to get referrals from these guys, and they're just coming out of the field.
It makes sense, because the work you're doing, they don't want, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, they need somebody to do the remediation. They need a good MSP that they can work with on the other side. Otherwise, a lot of the recommendations, that they're making for their clients, never get put in place. So, again, it was a real surprise to finally do that. And it took a while to find the right firm that you kind of have a relationship with, that you trust, that they're not going to turn around and say, oh, we're launching our MSP, service tomorrow. So that was, one of the big things that happened to us. And also what we're finding is a lot of MSP clients, are coming out of the pandemic, if they were looking to switch MSPs, or they weren't too happy with some of the service that they got beforehand, a lot of them held off. And now, you're seeing a little pent up, frustration from working with certain MSPs. What I'm trying to say is, if there's upset clients out there that wanted to change their MSPs, a lot of them didn't do so because of the pandemic. Now that things are starting to loosen up again, we're finding that there's a lot of potential MSP clients that are looking to move or explore other MSP options.
Yeah, we've actually seen that all over the country, right? Especially it's one of those things where people are afraid to move away from MSPs in general, because they're afraid of the unknown. And then you throw in a pandemic, and the move to home may not have been the smoothest thing in the world, and it might have fallen on their face a little bit, actually. But
sure.
But it's a pandemic, and do I really want to switch right now? And then we kind of got through it, and now we're hopefully on the other side of it, and things are starting to open up again. And the amount of conversations and the time to close, from what we've seen, has shrunk. The time to close has shrunk. The number of conversations have increased in probably the last 3 to 4 months specifically. And yeah, I mean, look, there's a
A
distinct
lot of
sense of
movement.
normalcy coming our way. Hopefully.
That's great news. I guess you could attribute that to a couple of different things.
Yeah.
But, no, it's the movement is good.
Yeah, definitely.
So what are you seeing for Netology as we start moving into then hopefully the next era of this pandemic and hopefully the wind down period?
Yeah.
What are you guys finding for yourselves?
Yeah, well, what we're finding is, again, we're backlogged with a lot of project work, a lot of migrations to the, Microsoft cloud, a lot of, completes, what we call pure cloud, where we're moving, services to Azure, whether it's applications, Active Directory, SharePoint, files, and so forth. We're obviously the pandemic has fueled a lot of that, and and again, there's a little bit of a backlog that and we also got hit pretty hard with a lot of moves for some reason. I mean, a lot of people are either downsizing or moving out or abandoning their offices altogether. We have a lot of clients that are in Manhattan, so obviously that was impacted pretty hard. So again, it's been a busy year from a professional services standpoint. I mean, we've seen a lot of decline initially when the pandemic started, with headcounts and so forth. I mean, we base our pricing on per user. So we definitely saw a dip, when a lot of folks were a little bit uncertain early on in the pandemic, but, we more than made up for it with a lot of the projects, that needed to be undertaken in regards to, working remotely. And I think, a lot of people are just thankful to be in IT at this time because, we're so needed at the moment.
Definitely.
So, I know you cater to a lot of financial services, Jamie, and you talked a little bit about, some of the realities going down in the city. Did you see some of your, the hedge funds and some of these other areas starting to fully relocate, or is it really just they're going to allow people to stay home more?
It's more so the smaller folks is what we've seen, and it's not necessarily the private equity firms and hedge funds. I haven't seen any funds. They're mostly the private equity firms that are doing this, but also a lot of smaller law offices as well. Just kind of taking the approach of hey, if we don't need the space and we're spending such a premium for it, why don't we just get a just outside of the city where most of us live. Let's do that. And then on the flip side, we have these, it's a nice, Class A office space that kind of made the decision, that's it, we're going virtual. We're bringing it all to Teams, and, we're in the middle of doing a full blown, Teams implementation for them from a collaboration standpoint, so that they can, again, just be completely officeless. And, I mean, again, it presents its challenges too, from like a support standpoint, because I mean, we have our SLAs as an MSP, like what you're going to cover, what you're not going to cover, when you provide on-site support and when you don't provide on-site support. So it's opened up a whole new list of challenges as far as, is that covered? Is that not covered? What do you have? Do I have to fix your home Wi-Fi? Your kids doing what? So there's a lot of, interesting, scenarios that certainly come up on the support side of things.
Yeah, especially in New York City. I mean, look, it's a crazy world right now. Even still, right? We have a couple clients that have ventured into Manhattan specifically, and it's still a bit of a ghost town there, and they're seeing a lot of the same things. The same things, just packing up their bags and going home, basically, and just working from home. Why spend the $100+ per square foot when you just don't have to?
Right. Yeah.
So, I mean, obviously that opens up a whole bunch of IT challenges, also HR challenges too. It's, I said you could work from home. I didn't say you could move across the country, and not tell us, that we have to pay, we have to do your payroll taxes where now, I'm not trying to, have the idea of like, hey, if I just move out of the area and I keep my job, I can, have a lower cost of living and so forth. And, my advice to anybody looking to do that is tell your employer first, have a conversation. Don't just say, you know what, I'm just going to move. I'll let them know because I don't plan on coming into the office for the next year. So there's right ways to do things and not, but that's something that I think a lot of companies need to be ready for. Where you have key employees that are looking to move to different lower costs of living areas.
I think the HR challenges that are going to come out of this have been woefully underestimated because there are so many.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So Jamie, you got a little story
Yeah.
that you shared with us about, challenging clients. One of the things that we like to talk about within the show is, what's that one thing that happened to your organization that changed you for the better or for the worse, but proved to be a pinnacle growing moment. And you shared an interesting one with us. So why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. I mean, when I first looked at the question, I was thinking like of all the good positive changes that we've had, and the list is long. You know what I mean? There's so many different things that we've implemented over the years that are great. But the one thing that stuck out, and especially is because it's recent, is we lost a large account recently, and they're a larger account. It was probably within our top 10. Not top 5, but again, and it was an account. We had it priced a little bit, not exactly where we wanted it, but it was a good sizable account of 65 users, right? So in the MSP world, depending, it's a decent size account, and we confirmed that even during the exit interview that a lot of it had to do with one person that we were covering on the contract who didn't actually even work for the company. So it happened to be that the owner's wife had her own executive coaching business on the side, and we were kind of strong armed into when we took over this account 8 years ago actually, that we just needed to support the wife, provide support for the wife. It's just one user, just add her on, it's X amount of dollars per month, as much as we try to draw some lines in the sand around what what's not. We just con this one account and pay the bills. It was all through the husband's company, which was one of our top 10 accounts, and we were able to keep this this woman happy for a long time, but she was at a point where we were getting multiple tickets a day for constant amounts of data. I mean, by far our noisiest end user, and we would have to dedicate people to basically service this one woman and her issues, and it just really got to a point where it was just killing morale on our team, and it was obviously putting stress on the client as well, and finally just kind of came to a point, I guess, and then again, this is my point taken too, is it kind of boiled over before the pandemic, and then after the pandemic they just recently switched, so we got notice that they're gone, and then on the exit interview they said, yeah, a lot of this had to do with the owner's wife. So my advice to the company that's taking over is make sure you don't get roped into taking on any oddball things. You can't include it in your fixed cost managed services. You have an SLA, stick to your guns. It's your SLA. Not only will you do damage by setting false expectations with the client, but you're going to do damage to your team and morale. And that's one of the things and the lessons learned, that we've had. I mean, we tried to fight it as long as we could, because on the other side of it was a pretty profitable or decently profitable account on the other side, and a good amount of revenue. But ultimately it got to the point where it was time to move on.
So Jamie, we've all been in that scenario, right, where you've got that really ticket heavy end user, right? Is there anything that you could have done to make this smoother once you got stuck in this mess, right? And we've all got stuck in messes before, but once you were there, looking back, was there something you could have done differently to maybe manage this a little bit better? Is there we've all been there, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, a lot of times it comes down to being able to connect at a personal level and trying to handle it personally. We exhausted those. We tried everything there. We tried to communicate SLA. We did projects for free. We, basically, for example, we did an email migration from Intermedia to Office 365 because she was constantly, I guess she lost some email with Intermedia, and she had us constantly, emailing the vendor to get her email back when we told her 10 times it was impossible. But we did everything we could to, to appease. And, I hear what you're saying. I mean, there has to be some sort of, reasonability on the other side. And, we got to the point where we said, you know what, we're just going to migrate you over for free. Look, you go to 365, we're going to give you all this, and we do it, and nothing ever happened. You know what I mean? And nothing changed.
There's no way.
So she just found there was something else. There was something else.
One of those possible situations. And I mean, I'm regretting, bringing up this story. It's a little bit embarrassing, to be honest with you. But it boils down to ego. You know what I mean? It's I'm so and so, and my husband pays you lots of money, and you need to fix this. Otherwise, I will get rid of you. Someday.
Yeah,
you run into that every once in a while.
Embarrassed is the wrong word, Jamie, because what it really comes down to is, as an industry, we want to help people, right? So when we look at these things, and obviously we're looking to expand our businesses, we're willing to sometimes take on things that we know can be outside the box, not quite fit our standards, not fit our process, and could be challenging down the road. I could count on two hands how many times that happened during my career where, I let people do something that I intrinsically knew wasn't going to be good. My team groaned as soon as I shared the outcome of what it was to get that deal. And sure enough, at some point down the road, we were in either a bad spot that was tough to recover from, or we lost. And you knew it going into it, that was a real reality of it.
Yeah, that's but you always know in your gut going into it, whether it's 8 years ago or what have you. And the one thing that I've learned in business over the last 18 years is, it's like being in a relationship, with a significant other, or what I mean, during the time. The way she if there's an ex, if she's leaving, the way that she handles the breakup of her ex is likely going to be the way that she handles the breakup of you. You're looking at a mirror of the future. So if you come into an account and they're just, they're not paying their old MSP, they never followed any of their directions, and the relationship crumbled because of that, chances are there's not much you're going to do to have a different result at the other end.
They're not going to change in this. All they're changing is who they're communicating to.
That's who they are.
Well, I tell you,
there's 65 person account.
We got into that account 8 years ago because of that woman, and here we are leaving because of that woman.
Yeah, 8 years is a good run. Wow.
That is that's a solid run.
I mean, it was a good amount of time, but pretty much we got back into that account, or we got into that account, I should say. That's another story, but because the previous IT provider couldn't get things done for her, and and next thing you know, we the account. So
shot by the same shotgun, right?
Yeah.
But those things happen. I mean, there are little telltale signs in every relationship as you get started. And that's one of those things, I think what you said about, kind of alluding it to dating and breaking up is so true, because, everybody has the honeymoon period, but you got to be looking at the person before that's coming out of it. We had a particular client, without going too deep into it, that I never got documentation handed to me faster than when I inherited this client. And I was like shocked. I'm like, what a smooth transition. It was great. That group said anything we needed to help them out in the transition, they'd be there for. And literally 6 months later, I had that stuff in a box ready to go, waiting for the phone call, because I couldn't wait to do the same thing. It was just, there's just certain telltale signs that tell you what you're in for.
It comes too quickly. Yeah. I mean, my favorite is again, it's when you're coming in, I should say, oh, sorry, you can't log into anything. We haven't told our our other MSP yet. You know what I mean? Or we haven't given them notice yet. You just know that it's they don't respect the vendor. No matter how good or bad they are. They're kind of showing, wow, you guys I could swap you guys out in minutes, a contract, what's that, so, when you see naivety, or this naiveness around that, chances are you're going to be up against those same forces, when in a different time cycle, it's a scary thing. I mean, again, those are the negative things, and at least if you know them and know about them, you can do what you can to avoid them. What I've learned is, look, communicate your expectations, communicate, what's in your contract and your SLA, and make sure you meet it. And make sure you take the opportunities to point out all the good things you do, because so easily in our world, obviously, we only get recognition, when things are bad. You have to really, sound the drum to get any recognition or any attention, when things go well.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that's so true. That's so true. You do your job, and in a weird way, you do your job really well, and they're like, wait, why do we work with an MSP? We never have to call them. And it's like,
now you guys are talking about the curse. We could do a whole week on that one.
I know. I think I've seen so many memes on Facebook for that, in IT, the being members of different groups and stuff. I mean, that one's been around a long time.
The more you do remotely, the less they see, the less things break, and the more you get kicked in the nuts for it.
Yeah, which is why you need, the BCO toolbox, why you need to do the proactive things, why you need to
engage with your customer. I mean, that's the moral of the story. However you get there, you need to engage, because the reality is you will get taken for granted otherwise. It's like any relationship. Going back to what you said with significant others, if you don't pay a little bit of attention, guess what? You're going to find yourself in the doghouse, right?
Right. Another way of looking at it. Yep.
All right, Timmy, I think we are at the point of the show where we need to hit the speed round.
All right. So we've got 5 questions. Just they're all quick. Just first thing that comes to mind, basically. First one is text, talk, or Teams?
Teams.
Teams. Okay.
Yep.
Music, movies, or TV?
Music.
Okay. What age do you want to retire?
55.
That seems to be the norm. Yeah. Windows or Mac?
Windows.
Yeah. If you could do anything outside of tech, what would it be?
I'd be an electrician.
Wow.
Yeah. Really?
That's a different one than we usually hear.
Yeah.
Wow.
Were you in a prior life or no?
No, just, I have a lot of family that's in the trades. Something I enjoy, that's all.
Hey, that's a good industry.
Yeah. I've been installing solar panels, making lots of money.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Jamie, I just want to wrap it up now. I really want to thank you for joining us today. And for anyone that is looking to get in touch with Jamie, we will be including his LinkedIn profile with the podcast. Also, this episode will be up on MSPBusinessSchool.com and anywhere you get your podcast. Jamie, thanks for joining us. Is there any closing thoughts that you have before we break today?
Happy St. Patrick's Day. It's been rough, man. It's been a rough year and a half for everyone.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people, our clients, our people, it's everybody in general is, even though we're coming out of this thing, let's just take it easy on ourselves. It's not easy nowadays, and yes, things will get better. So that's all I wanted to say. Awesome. And thank you, Rob, Tim, Brian. Always a pleasure to see you guys, and best of luck, and hope everything works out.
Yeah, appreciate you coming on today. Thank you.
Cool, man. Thanks so much, guys.
Thanks for coming on.
Guys. Take care.
Take care, everybody.